It was the kind of storm that made everything feel heavier, raindrops like shattered glass against the window panes, wind that howled like a wounded soul, and a grayness so thick it blurred even the outlines of buildings. Mia Bennett stood at the edge of her modest porch, holding a thick blanket around her shivering frame, staring into the downpour as if it might answer the questions life had refused to. That's when she saw them, two silhouettes in the rain. A man hunched over, carrying a small girl bundled in a too-thin coat. He was soaked, his beard dripping, clothes clinging to his skin like sorrow itself. The girl clung to his neck, too tired to cry anymore. Mia should have hesitated. She should have asked questions. But something in her heart tugged fiercely, the way the little girl looked like she hadn't felt warmth in weeks, the way the man's eyes scanned the street as if looking for a miracle and expecting none. So she stepped outside, barefoot and bold in the storm, and simply said, "Come in. Just for one night. Greater than before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected encounters, please like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel, Stories Collection. Your support helps bring stories like this to life." Inside, the warmth of the small home hit them like sunlight after a long winter. Mia's house wasn't fancy. A worn couch, an old fireplace, and a kitchen that smelled faintly of cinnamon and coffee, but it was safe. She gave them towels, dry clothes from her late brother's closet, and a bowl of steaming soup. The man, who introduced himself as Ben, barely spoke more than "thank you," but his eyes never stopped scanning the room like he was calculating every kindness and wondering how to repay it. His daughter, Emma, couldn't stop trembling. Mia gently rubbed her hands and whispered a lullaby as if she were her own. For a moment, in that quiet living room, the storm outside felt 1,000 miles away. Mia didn't ask why they were out there. She didn't need to. Life had dealt her enough cruel hands to recognize another soul mid-fall. After her parents died in a car accident 5 years ago, she had spent her 20s trying to hold together their failing bookstore while scraping through temp jobs at a faceless corporate office. Love never knocked, and friends slowly vanished like fog. Her home became her world, a sanctuary where dreams were small but safe. Letting a stranger in, that wasn't like her. But that night, something bigger than logic stirred her heart. Morning came soft and quiet. Emma awoke with a rare giggle as the sunlight streamed through the window, landing like gold on her tiny face. Mia had made pancakes. Ben stood quietly in the doorway watching them laugh together. There was something in his expression, a deep, aching gratitude mixed with something like disbelief. When he thanked her again, it wasn't just for the pancakes. It was for dignity, for warmth, for being seen. He left before noon. Said he had to take care of something. Promised to send for his daughter after the meeting. Mia watched them go with a strange heaviness in her chest, not knowing why the tears pricked her eyes or why her heart felt hollow again. The next morning was Monday, and Mia trudged into her cubicle at Crestline Corporation, just like she had for the past 7 years. The office buzzed with an unusual energy, something about a new CEO arriving that day. She didn't care. She was an invisible cog in a massive wheel, organizing files and managing emails for people who barely remembered her name. She made her tea, straightened her desk, and prepared for another forgettable day. But everything changed at exactly 9:03 a.m. He walked in, clean-shaven, sharp suit, unmistakable presence. Her heart skipped. Ben. No. Mr. Benjamin Carter, the new CEO of Crestline Corp. For a long second, their eyes locked across the glass walls of the conference room. Her hands trembled. He didn't smile. He looked hurt, conflicted, stunned. Word traveled fast. He had built 3 companies from scratch. A self-made millionaire who had vanished after his wife's sudden death, only to return and take over the very company that once rejected his early ideas. His name was in business journals. But none of those stories told about a night spent in the rain, holding his daughter with nowhere to go. Mia slipped out of the office, hiding her panic. She felt foolish. Used. Had he just played her? Was it all a setup? That night, he came to her house again. No security. No car. Just him. He stood on her porch in silence until she opened the door. "I didn't lie to you," he said softly. "I just didn't know how to explain who I was without changing everything you did for us." Mia didn't know whether to scream or cry. But then little Emma ran up to her, threw her arms around Mia's legs and whispered, "I missed you." And everything softened. Ben explained everything over tea. His wife had died of cancer 2 years ago. The grief swallowed him whole. He left his empire behind and lived like a ghost. That night in the storm, he'd just been trying to find a shelter that wouldn't judge him for being broken. He hadn't known who Mia was, hadn't planned a thing. But that night changed him. He began showing up more, not just as a CEO, but as a friend. He promoted her, yes, but also involved her in decisions, asked for her ideas, lifted her voice in a room that had silenced her for years. But beyond work, they began having dinner. Laughing. Watching movies with Emma. The three of them started feeling like family. But it wasn't perfect. Mia struggled with trust. She had seen too many promises dissolve into silence. One night, overwhelmed by the pressure of a rising career and unexpected love, she nearly pushed him away. "I'm not built for a fairy tale, Ben," she said. "I'm just me." He took her hands, his voice trembling. "Then I guess I'll spend the rest of my life proving that even, just you, is the dream I didn't know I was chasing." And he did. Weeks turned into months. Emma called her, "Mama Mia," one day and blushed. Mia cried for an hour after putting her to bed. The bookstore. Ben helped her restore it, right in the heart of the city, next to a park where children now laughed and read and found wonder again. She ran it part-time, still working at Crestline, but now as director of creative development. She had a seat at the table. She had a place in someone's heart. And for the first time in years, she had hope. The storm that brought them together was no accident. Sometimes life strips everything away, titles, pride, comfort, just so two hearts can meet as equals. And sometimes, letting someone stay for just one night becomes the beginning of forever. Greater than if this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who still believes in second chances, and subscribe to Stories Collection. Leave us a comment. What would you have done if they knocked on your door that night? We read every one. Speech balloon red heart. Special request. Please drop a comment below, even just a heart emoji, if this story reminded you that love, in any form, can arrive when you least expect it. Absolutely. Let's continue the story and deepen the emotional arc, bringing it to a fuller, more cinematic conclusion, while maintaining that heartfelt tone and a graceful pace suitable for a 6,000-word video. As the seasons changed, so did the rhythm of their lives. Mia, once someone who went unnoticed in crowded rooms, found herself at the heart of board meetings where people now waited to hear what she had to say. She spoke with calm confidence, blending creativity with empathy, traits the new CEO insisted were just as vital as any data chart. She still had doubts, of course. She still flinched when people praised her. Years of being overlooked had taught her to be humble, sometimes too humble, but Ben never stopped reminding her that her kindness was her strength. Their weekends became sacred. Emma loved baking days in Mia's kitchen, flower in her hair, laughter echoing through the house. They'd visit the bookstore and let kids pick out free books every Friday, an idea Emma came up with herself, and one Mia proudly named Emma's Friday shelf. Ben would sit in the back, reading quietly, a peaceful smile playing at his lips, as if silently grateful for every single moment he once feared he'd never have. Still, the past wasn't finished with either of them. One rainy afternoon, as Mia was closing up the bookstore, a woman entered. Elegant, cold-eyed, dressed in designer everything. She introduced herself as Claudia, Ben's former business partner, the one who took over when he disappeared. Her words were sharp and soaked in venom. "I hope you know what you're doing, Ms. Bennett. Men like Ben Carter don't stay in fairy tales. They return to boardrooms, not bookstores. When he wakes up from this, you'll be the first thing he sheds." Mia stood there, her heart breaking in the silence that followed. Not because she believed Claudia's words, but because some part of her, buried deep beneath everything Ben had healed, still feared being temporary. She didn't tell him about the encounter. But he noticed. Of course he did. The way she pulled away just a little. The way her smile took longer to return. The way her eyes lingered longer on goodbye, even when they only parted for work. It all came to a head one night when Emma asked, "Are you and Daddy going to get married?" Mia froze. Ben was quiet for a long time before saying, "Only if it's what she wants to, sweetheart." That night, when they were alone, he gently confronted her. And she broke down, told him everything. The fear, the doubt, the voice inside her that still whispered she was just the woman who offered a blanket on a rainy night, not someone a man like him could ever choose to love forever. Ben didn't argue. He didn't give some grand speech. Instead, he took her hand and led her outside, barefoot just like she had been the night they met. It was drizzling softly, the kind of rain that didn't sting but cleansed. He looked her in the eyes, his voice raw and low. "That night changed my life. But not because you saved me. Because you saw me. All of me. And loved me anyway. I don't want you to doubt your worth for even one more day. If I could rewrite my entire life to start with you, I would." And then, right there in the soft rain, he knelt in the mud and pulled out a ring. Nothing flashy. Just a simple band with a small sapphire, the same color as her eyes the night he first saw her through the window. Mia cried so hard she couldn't say yes for several seconds. But she did, with everything in her heart. The wedding was quiet, small, under a willow tree in the park beside the bookstore. Emma wore a crown of daisies and danced with bare feet. Mia wore her mother's necklace. Ben kissed her like the storm would never come again. Years later, the townspeople would still tell the story. Of the woman who opened her door one rainy night. Of the man who showed up broken and left whole. Of the child who gained a mother, and the hearts that found home not in luxury, but in grace. And if you ever visit that bookstore, you'll see a framed photo on the wall behind the register. 3 people, laughing, drenched in rain, and below it, a quote that reads, "Sometimes, the greatest promotions don't come with titles. They come with love." Greater than. If this story moved you, even just a little, please like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Stories Collection. We believe in stories that remind us how one act of kindness can change everything. And we know you do too. Speech balloon special request. Drop a sparkling heart or comment below if you believe that even the smallest kindness can rewrite a life. Your words might inspire someone who really needs to hear them today.